Asher Hong is leading the all around in a major way. Four out of the six eligible athletes hit the necessary benchmarks for world's auto qualifications, and some surprising mishaps will mean more pressure on day two of competition. For those new here, I'm Kensley, the host of Neutral Deductions, a podcast all about men's gymnastics. This is episode 79, where I recap the 2025 U.S. National Gymnastics Championships Night 1. So, who is leading after night one? Well, if you listen to the preview episode, you would be 0% surprised to know that Asher Hong is leading the all around with a massive 85.585. I mentioned in the preview that the winner would probably make it to the 85 benchmark with bonus, and that's exactly what happened here. Now, not to take anything away from that performance, but I did actually run the numbers for his all around score, and without bonus, he would be at an 83.45, which is still a really good and competitive score in the all around internationally right now. So he started the day on vault, and I was actually really interested to see how he was going to do and compete on vault because in the earlier session, in the junior session, his younger brother Kiefer actually got injured on vault. And the amount of mental strength it takes to start a competition on the exact same vault that your brother had gotten injured on earlier in the day while doing the hardest vault in the world is truly something else. So he did his Rise Guang, which is one of the hardest vaults in the Coda Points. It looked actually really good in the air, but he did have a huge step sideways that incurred a neutral deductions. He ended up moving on to parallel bars. He's upgraded his dismount there. He's doing a full in double tuck. And on the NBC broadcast, they were saying that after speaking with some of the Stanford coaches, they thought, oh, is this just something easy that Asher was able to throw in? And they said, no, he actually really has to work for this. If there was one thing I'd really like to see maybe improve for him is having a little bit more amplitude on elements like the moi. I just feel like they're a little bit lackluster, but it's a relatively small complaint, especially considering how well he did overall. He added a casina on high bar, which was really exciting. And then again on high bar, my main complaint was actually more maybe with the judges. I would say he was flirting with non recognition on the talk full. He finished it really, really late. And I'd like to actually go back and watch and see where exactly he finished it, but I think it definitely could have been considered for non-recognition there. So something he'll be looking forward to improving on night two. So when he finished up the competition on rings, he became an absolute dream for NBC. He was just like doing quotes left and right. Asher was like, "I'm auto cramping, bro," and he was like, "I didn't even know I could get a 6/10 bonus on rings." And he ended up waving a banana to the camera, which I never really fully understood. I don't know if that was doing to do with his cramping, like trying to get a little bit more potassium, but I was like, NBC was loving these moments for sure. So Asher led night one in a huge way, and we'll be looking to repeat that performance for night two. Now, in the preview episode, I'd mentioned I thought Asher was going to be a pretty sure lock for gold unless something went disastrously wrong. And I thought Frederick Richard was going to be a pretty sure lock for silver unless something went disastrously wrong. And honestly, Fred had a really, really, really rough competition. He ran out of so many dismounts. It was honestly like he was trying out for the track and field team. There was just no control anywhere when he was landing. He also ended up with a significantly downgraded pommel horse routine, and I actually think he may have lost the entire element group for his leaning. He ended up having to use like a lot of strength to press up on the scissor to handstand, and he only ended up with a 4.4 difficulty for that routine when really he should be somewhere in the like 5.2 to 5.6 range. I won't know until I can maybe talk to some of his coaches or talk to the judges exactly what happened, but that is my perception of what happened in that routine. And one of the things I forgot to mention in the preview episode is that he was going to receive a deduction for his uniform. So he confirmed to us that he was going to be bringing another one of these new uniforms that aren't necessarily in line with the code of points. And what happens is each day that he wears this, he gets a 3/10 neutral deduction for each day that he wears this uniform. So, on top of all of the mishaps, the lower difficulty, the lack of control on landings, plus the 3/10 neutral deductions, he just ended up in really not a good spot. I expect him to be much better on day 2, but this is not a great place for him to be, and I think the most likely scenario is he is probably not gonna be on the World Championships team this year. As of right now, he is not sitting in the top 3 on any events, which means he is currently ineligible to be selected for the World Championships teams. So if he even wants to begin to be in that conversation for discretionary selection, he will have to get in the top 3 in either the all-around or on an event. So the person who is actually sitting in the silver medal position right now is Oklahoma's Fuzzy Vennis. And I would say it was definitely a shock to basically everyone that he is sitting there. And he is currently in second, less than a tenth ahead of Colt Walker in third. So Fuzzy's a really interesting gymnast because he has almost no difficulty bonus, only about 3 tons on high bar, but he is so, so, so clean. I think my favorite thing about Fuzzy's entire program is his pagan on high bar. It's honestly probably my favorite skill in the Dakota points, and he competes it really, really well. So that's something to look out for in his program if you're going to be watching on Saturday. Now, Colt Walker has had a really nice comeback. If you've seen any of our interviews with him previously, he had been struggling with some back injuries, but he's managed to come back and perform in the all around really well. And not only is he doing well in the all around by sitting in that bronze medal position, he also managed to hit the required 5.7 D score on parallel bars to be considered for automatic qualification to the World Championship team. So he is also sitting in first place. So remember, you have to hit that required D score benchmark and you have to win the event. And he's currently in a really good place to do so. So if he repeats what he did today, he is likely to lock in his spot for Jakarta. Now, even though his routine was pretty good on the bar, he actually has a lot of room for improvement on his dismount. He also kind of ran out of it and took several steps. So I could see him improving his score there about half a point as well. So looking at the whole overall all-around landscape, you have Asher Hong in first, Fuzzy Bennis in second, Colt Walker in third. We just went over those. Frederick Richard sits in fourth, followed by Josh Carnes of Penn State and Alex Natache of Nebraska. Preston Nye of Illinois is in seventh. June Eway of Stanford is in eighth. David Ramirez of Ohio State is in ninth, and Sasha Boganosiuk of Oklahoma is sitting in 10th. So there's less than a point separating fourth through eighth place right now. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how things progress on Saturday. A few other notes about the all around. I was a bit surprised to see that Taylor Burkhart was not doing the all around. He's been quite good there in the past, but he ended up scratching pommel horse. I don't know if this was planned or something came up today where he decided not to do it, but he was someone that I really thought could place in that top 3. Preston Nye of Illinois and June Eway were both consistently running in the top 3 tonight, but Falls ended up taking them out and dropped them down. But there is definitely room for improvement for both of them. And then it was really nice to see Alex Natache of Nebraska put together a good Yurchenko triple on vault. He really struggled with that vault at the FISU World University Games, so this feels like a little bit of a redemptive story. Now, not everything was sunshine and rainbows tonight. There were definitely a couple of surprising mishaps. So Danila Lakin of Evo, who is one of the juniors but is currently competing in the senior division, he fell twice on high bar, fairly unexpected. Both times was on his pagan. He fell and then he got up and tried again and then fell again. Evo was kind of struggling on high bar in many ways tonight. Brody Malone, who has historically been one of the best high bar workers in the world, won the world championship in 2022 on high bar. He was just super, super, super close to the bar on his first release. And then on his Takimoto skills, he went the wrong way on them. He fell on his Lucan, he got back up, he fell on his Lucan again, and it just wasn't there. And so not only did he not get the difficulty score that he can do, that necessary 6.5 plus to auto lock in his spot, he is so far down the rankings right now on high bar. I'm not sure he's even going to be eligible to even qualify to the world championship team because I'm not sure he's going to have enough room to move up into that top 3 spot. And then you had Steven Adarasic on pommel horse. So Steven came in, we knew he had a 6-2 routine that he could be able to do, and he started the routine okay, and I can't remember exactly what skill he got lost on, but he just the rest of the routine, it was just made up. It was like he was trying to build the airplane and fly it at the same time. It did not quite work. It was very clean. It just it just wasn't the routine that he was intending to compete. But he is currently sitting in fifth in pommel horse and will be looking to make a move there on Saturday. Now, in terms of the picture of the world team, so Asher got the difficulty he needed on vault. Colt Walker got the difficulty he needed on parallel bars. Donnell got the difficulty he needed on still rings. Originally, he didn't. And I was live tweeting the competition, and his difficulty score came up as 5.8. And I was like trying to figure out, I was like, what in the world did the judges do to, like, or what did he miss? Like, what did he not get credit for? And I think what ended up happening is because Evo did end up submitting an inquiry and it was accepted. I think they maybe the judges mistakenly gave his dismount an H versus an I skill, and that could account for the 2/10 there. So I think that that's what happened. But if I end up getting more information, I will certainly follow up on that. But all that to say, he did end up getting the 6.0 difficulty, and he can now auto qualify, assuming he wins still rings on Saturday. Cam Nelson also got the difficulty score. He has officially now competed the hardest routine in the entire world with a 6.3. And Cam was a really, really, really good surprise for me. I would say typically this year when he's done his 6.2 routine, his execution has suffered, but he looked really, really good here. I think that should he repeat this, he has definitely punched his ticket to Jakarta, and the world absolutely deserves to see this routine. I mean, 2 triples in 1 routine, are you kidding me? Like, that dismount, it's just, oh, it's so good. So I was really, really, really pleased to see that routine. Now, if those 4 spots lock in, that would mean 2 spots would go to discretion. So people keep asking me, "Is Brody out?" And I say, "Probably," but it's not necessarily true. So the absolute most likely thing is that Brody is not going to be in contention for Worlds. However, if there was like some food poisoning apocalypse and he hits the routine of his lifetime on high bar, like technically could he make it back up to third and then be in consideration for discretionary? Like something like that could happen. Stranger things have definitely happened. The committee could also do some like witchery and choose him for quote unquote still rings because he's in the top 3 there. All that being considered, the most likely scenario is Brody is not going to Worlds. Then you have Steven. Steven's in a little bit of a different boat, so he's currently 5th on pommel horse with what I would say is relatively a disaster of a composition of his routine. So on Saturday, if he does the routine he has planned and knocks it out of the park, he could pretty easily move up into 3rd simply because of the amount of bonus that he would get from performing a 6-2 routine. And then the committee could still choose to take him based on the discretionary criteria of having one of the hardest routines in the world at that time. Now, based on what we saw today, the world's team would most likely be, in my opinion, Asher Hong, Donald Wittenberg, Cam Nelson, Colt Walker, Patty Hoops, and probably Brandon Dang. I think there's an argument that could be made for Taylor Burkhart, but honestly, I think they'd probably give it to Brandon based on day 1 results and based on the fact that he is a World Cup gold medalist this year. I actually haven't talked about Brandon's routine yet. He came out of the gates with this 5.9 routine. I was unsure, honestly, if he was going to be performing it because he had downgraded earlier this year, but he looked really, really, really good here. And as I've said this entire year, I think it is entirely possible that the committee does end up going with 2 pommel horse workers, so don't be surprised if that is the case. That all being said, a lot can change in a day of competition. Like, seriously, a lot can change. So don't be surprised if there is a shakeup to this order. Moving on to day 2 of competition, 42 athletes are going to be performing on Saturday, including Steven Nedorosik. I know there was some like confusion on Reddit and people were worried, is he going to make it? He has definitely made it. The list will be posted soon, but I can confirm that he is going to be there. Looking at each of the events, top 3 on floor, Cam Nelson, Asher Hong, Taylor Burkhart. On pommel horse, it's Patty Hoops, Brandon Dang, and Preston Nye. On still rings, Donnell Wittenberg, Asher Hong, and Brody Malone. On vault, using the 2 vault average, it's Asher Hong, Cam Nelson, and Fuzzy Bennis. Parallel bars is Colt Walker, Asher Hong, and Donna Wittenberg, and high bar is Taylor Burkhart, Crew Bold, and Fuzzy Benez. Moving on to a quick synopsis of the juniors. So Jackson Karaki and Maxim Khan are leading the junior all-around titles for their age groups 16 and 17 respectively. Dante Reeve is currently sitting fourth on still rings ahead of Alex Diab and is eighth on floor. Danila Lakin was the highest ranked junior in the senior division. He's sitting in 12th with a top 10 finish on floor. And if he repeats what he did today, which I actually think he'll probably be better, I don't think we'll see him fall twice on high bar. He would end up, I believe, auto locking his spot to junior worlds. And then some of the others I think are in contention would be Nathan Roman, who rounded out the top 20 in the all around with a 75.5. And it looked like Nathan brought a lot of upgrades and difficulty here, and so I'll be interested to see if he'll keep that in his rotation for Saturday or if he'll end up downgrading and looking to upgrade that execution. As promised, I will keep you updated on what is happening with Lorenzo Bonacelli. We did get an update from one of his loved ones who said he has been moved to Italy and will continue receiving treatment there. So we certainly wish him all the prayers and well wishes. If you are enjoying Neutral Deductions podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really, really helps others find us there. We have 76 5-star reviews right now, which is amazing. But if you haven't given us a 5-star review, we would love if you would head there and fill out that form as well. If you would like to financially support us, one of the best ways you can do that is watching or listening to our podcast on YouTube because we do make some revenue from ads. If you would like to also just donate, you can do that via PayPal or Stripe, and those links are on the website at neutraldeductions.com and in the show notes for this podcast. A massive thank you to Emily for your donation this week. It's incredibly, incredibly, incredibly well received. If you have any questions, comments, or insider tips, you can email us at neutraldeductions@gmail.com. That's all for this week. We'll see you next time.